purchasing a little bit. I hope you enjoy. I'll start this off with the Disney stuff first. This was purchased inside Tokyo Disneyland, and it's a book about all the signage and some of the props and things inside both of the parks. I think that is a fascinating topic, and it's a good snapshot in time. I have books like this from a couple decades ago also, and they're just very interesting. I can't fully read Japanese yet. I'm learning it very slowly, but Google Translate works perfectly, and it's still packed with interesting pictures and a lot of good information here. So this is a nice little piece of history book that I had to get. And that was 2,900 yen. This was a book off purchase, and it is one of those Tommy ride vehicle toys. It's the Transit Steamer line, but it's Indiana Jones Temple of the Crystal Skull version. This was it say 990 yen, so that's about 1,000 yen cheaper than the buying it new. So just grab that because it was cheap. This is another Tommy toy. I paid full price in the park for it, 1,600 yen, and it's the Jungle Cruise boat. Didn't have that one yet. I did a video about these Tommy toys, so be sure to check that out. I will try to link for it. Okay, these ride vehicle toys were in the capsule machines, and they were supposed to come out on the 18th, but I wasn't going to be in the park anymore for the rest of the trip. But luckily they released them a day early. I got the one I wanted, which is the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea ride vehicle submarine, and it's neat because they have a little propeller with a rubber band on it, and you can make the propeller go. So that's pretty cute. The one that I got first, since I wanted the 20,000 Leagues one, was the Jungle Cruise boat. So cool, but I didn't want it. So maybe I'll sell that or something. But it's still very neat. There were so many items released for the Sparkling Jubilee, the entire store full, all over the park, every store full of it. I didn't find a single item that I wanted, but I did want an item to commemorate it, and so I thought this was the most tasteful item that is actually useful in the sense that I'm gonna put it on my fridge. But yeah, I do like the design. It helps me remember my trip to the Tokyo Disney Sea's 25th anniversary. This was 1,500 yen. So that's like $9 or something. So it's not bad. Okay, I got this at Book Off. It is a Tokyo Disneyland musical tour DVD. I actually just watched this, and it's only like 40 minutes long. Now, these are super cheap, like usually 800 yen, so $4 if that even. And it's just a good snapshot into the park, how it was when this was produced, which was 1992, I believe. And so there's footage in here of things that don't exist anymore, and old shops that are gone. There's a shot of the Main Street, the World Bazaar Cinema, which is long gone because the Emporium expanded into it, stuff like that. So I always like to grab these for cheap because they're just a fun little thing. This is just a list of songs that goes through. It's almost like the old sing-along tapes, the old Disneyland fun sing-along tapes that they sold in America. The other DVD set I got is this, a little bit more expensive, 1,300 yen, but 20%
What is it doing
off.
something?
So good deal. It's a 25th anniversary Tokyo Disneyland box set, and it just has recordings, pro shots of a bunch of the old shows, parades, and other live entertainment. And these are just fun to see because you really see how the shows used to be, and there used to be a ton of performers, big elaborate set pieces and fireworks and whatnot. They've definitely scaled back since then. This is a 3D DVD set, by the way. Yeah, I'm definitely okay, this is something they still sell in the park, but it's a little more expensive, so I think it's 2,500 yen. It may even be more, so it's almost $20. But I got this at Book Off for 1,320. It's the Tokyo Disney Sea Electric Railway car, and it is electric. You can put it on a track, put some batteries in it, and it'll move along. I think it actually makes sounds also. but this is one of my favorite rides in any Disney park because the vibes are just immaculate. You get some beautiful shots of the park and Tokyo Bay, and it's just wonderful and relaxing, and I love it, and I can't get enough of it. These are plushes, the badges that they call them, because they have the little clip on the back that you put in the bag. I would never really buy something like this unless it's within Country Bear Grand Prix, obviously. But I attended the SS Columbia Jubilee Gala, which was event that an upcharge event that took place inside SS Columbia, and you got to eat a little fancy meal and get unlimited drinks, and there was unlimited cocktails as well. I don't drink alcohol, so I didn't partake in that, but I sure did drink a lot of apple tea soda and ginger ale. And there's the glass that you get. They had a special fizzy, sparkling beverage inside this glass when you ate in the SS Columbia dining room, and then they gave you a clean one as you left. So this was about $120, I believe, or maybe it was like $90. But anyway, either way, it was a little expensive, but you did get free reign of the entire SS Columbia while you enjoyed your drinks. You could go up on the decks, you could go in Teddy Roosevelt Lounge and relax, and then they also had a photo booth where you could take pictures with a little fun backdrop. So yeah, that was a fun event, and they gave us these items and also a bag. This was a crazy find. I did not expect ever to find something like this in a book off. 2,200 yen, so $14. It is a Club 33 Tokyo Disneyland necklace, and it looks like it's never been opened or used. Club 33, so in the States, in Club 33, it's just, you just gotta have money and you buy a membership, and then members can invite guests. For Tokyo Disneyland, it's all corporate members, and you gotta be invited by like whatever corporation is a member of Club 33. So merchandise for it is rare, so to see this for a pretty affordable price is, yeah, I was really shocked, and I just grabbed this just because the novelty of owning a Club 33 merch. Oh, I can't believe I almost forgot. I got another Tokyo Disney Resort backpack that has the mouse ears. I've had the black one for over a decade now, I think, and it's getting a little worn out. The ears are droopy, threads are coming undone. I love the inside. It's great. It's got a bunch of retractions and air coaster and stuff. So yeah, this was only 1,980 yen, so $15. Brand new, I think these were like $30 or something. So yeah, good little backpack for going to parks. Had to grab it. Okay, that's it for the Disney stuff. Shockingly, I think that might be the least amount of Disney items that I've ever purchased on a trip to Tokyo Disney Resort. So we'll get onto the video game stuff. First of all, my friend gave me this. It's a capsule toy of the PlayStation 1, and it actually opens up. You can put a disc inside. It's got the little thing. I should have put this together before. I just haven't had time. Comes with a controller too. Very cool stuff. I went to the official Sega store in Shibuya and got this wallet, this Sega wallet. This was pretty cheap. I think it was only $8. It's probably the cheapest thing in the entire Sega store. A little expensive. I, like many Americans visiting Japan, go to a lot of book-offs, and I also go to the book-off here in where I live in Los Angeles. There's a bunch of them. So I got some book-off merch. I got the little A-frame that's outside a lot of the stores, and it's also a clip, but it's a little delicate, and this was dirt cheap, less than $1, 200 yen, so had to get that one. Okay, as you can see here, I picked up several controllers. I'll start with the PS4 ones. These are getting way expensive in the States, like almost $50 for a working one. So I got some book-off merch. I got the little A-frame that's outside a lot of the stores, and it's also a clip, but it's a little delicate, and this was dirt cheap, less than $1, 200 yen, so had to get that one. Okay, as you can see here, I picked up several controllers. I'll start with the PS4 ones. These are getting way expensive in the States, like almost $50 for a working one. And if you wanted a fully working one, at the various book-offs or used game stores in Tokyo that I went to, they were about $30. So I got these ones from the junk section, which are still in good physical condition. The only problem with this one was that it said the X button didn't work. So I just took it apart, I cleaned the contacts, and then it works perfectly. So I got a perfectly working, in good condition PS4 controller for less than $8. This one was about $19, a little more expensive. I probably wouldn't have bought this, but I found this one way later, the white one. So this was about $18 or $19, and it does have stick drift in the left stick, which is unfortunate. But I will try to replace that and get that working, and then probably just sell it because I don't really need to. I wanted a PS4 controller again because I sold my PS4 when the PS5 came out, and this is a great controller for Mister, so I want to use that on my Super Station. Anyway, moving on, dirt cheap again, 330 yen. This is one of the SCPH1010 PlayStation controllers. I'm going to make a video just about this at some point, but it's the original PlayStation 1 controller. Before they brought it to America, it made it slightly bigger. I just really like the feel of the buttons and the feel in my hands and everything on this one. I already have it, but I wanted to grab another one too. They're practically giving away at 330 yen. That's not even a couple dollars. I grabbed this GameCube controller that I have not tested out yet, but it was only 800 yen, so $5 or so. In really good physical condition. The buttons seem springy and clicky and everything, so yeah, wanted to grab that just because it was cheap. As I also did this Nintendo 64 controller, which I also haven't tested out, but the analog stick seems fine. I'll give that a little cleanup. It's not even really that dirty, just a little bit of dirt between the buttons and whatnot. But it's so cheap, and I wanted a yellow one that I had to grab it. Okay, now this is a good find right here. This is a Nintendo 3DS, and I'm sure if you're in the gaming sphere at all, you know that 3DSs are going for crazy money now. So I have sold my 3DS and my new 2DS previously because I thought I didn't want to play them anymore, and I thought I could just emulate, and then I thought, no, I really want one. And of course I picked the worst time to buy one again. So, book-offs and retro game stores in Tokyo have caught on to Americans coming to Japan and trying to save money, and so they have raised their prices to pretty much eBay levels now. But I found this one, and it's fully working. The only issue with it is that it didn't come with a stylus, which I have one and I put it in there and it's fine, or a charger. Other than that, it worked perfectly. I mean, it's a little, very, very minor issues, but other than that, it's totally fine. I already put custom firmware on it. It took me only 10 minutes. This was 18,000 yen plus 20% off. So that's $114 and then 20% off on top of that. So that's a crazy deal. Like I said, in good condition. Love the mint colorway. I really want like fun colors on my electronics now. I don't want like normal boring stuff anymore. So yeah, this was a hell of a find in my opinion. I know nobody cares about amiibos anymore, but Metal Gear Solid is one of my favorite series, and I love Solid Snake. And I found this for about $7 US. It was even new in the package, so I grabbed that because I mean, you gotta love Snake. Right? You gotta love Snake, one of the greatest characters in fiction. And I know amiibos are stupid. They don't do anything, but I'm gonna put this on the shelf next to the other amiibo I have, which is Zero Suit Samus, and then a regular Samus one. So yeah. Okay, we got a lot of games here, but first a Wii U D-terminal cable. Now, the only reason why I got this, price tag fell off, but it was like $1, and these sell for about $20 on eBay. Oh, it was $550, so it was like $2 or $3. Anyway, that's not the point. These sell for $20 on eBay. I got this just to sell, to be perfectly honest with you, because it was just there in the junk section, and it was cheap, and I grabbed it. Now, I got a Nintendo 64, okay, 4,180 yen, which is $26. Working perfectly, comes with the AC adapter, doesn't come with cables, which is fine because I have S-Video and I'm hoping to mod this into RGB. I needed an N64 because I recently got a better CRT and I have the analog 3D, but I wanted, and I also have the Super Station, which also plays N64, but there's something about having a real Nintendo 64, and even though I had one and I just sold it not too long ago, probably about 2 years ago, I just had to grab another one because it was so cheap. Ooh. So yeah, I got that cheap controller, I got this, I also got a Rumble Pack for 780 yen, so $5 just to have. So yeah, I have an N64 ready to go to play on the CRT as intended. So anyway, this Pocket Station, I had been seeing these for like $20 in recent years, and I finally found this one. And yeah, it's a little yellowed. It doesn't look 100%. I think it looks fine. It's a little dirty. I'll clean that up, and it does need a new battery, so I will grab that. I got Super Mario Wonder because it was 3,600 yen, so what is that? That's $22.58, way cheaper than you can get it for in the States. It plays in English. I thought I wanted to try that Switch 2 version, but then it got bad reviews, so I probably won't do that. I'll probably just play through Mario Wonder again, and Mario Kart 64, 182 yen. Again, it's like they're just giving it away. This game, you can go to almost any book off and they'll have stacks of these for this cheap usually. Don't pay more than like 200 yen for Mario Kart 64. Another weird one, Final Fantasy 15. I want to give this another chance. And at 480 yen, which is only a couple bucks, I thought this was probably the best way to do it. Not much more to say about that. Christmas Nights on Sega Saturn, 720 yen plus 10% off. I had the English version of this at one point, but I sold it long ago, way before it quadrupled in value. But anyway, this was so cheap I had to grab it. Now that I'm looking at this, I bought another Famicom Disk System game, Super Mario Brothers 2. It's not really exciting though. Anyway, Kid Icarus. I don't have a disc system yet, but I do want to get one at some point, and so I grabbed it because it was cheap enough. Just, there's nothing mind-blowing here with the games, by the way. I hope nobody's offended by that or anything. I just kind of like grabbing cheap games, and so yeah, Sega Rally Championship on Sega Saturn for 300 yen. There, again, giving it away. Pocket Fighter for PlayStation 1, 1,500 yen, $9 or so. This is a fun game, and that's a really good price for it. Vampire Savior for PlayStation 1, another great Capcom fighting game, 1,500 yen. Love the art on this.
I really love the Rattan.
Those Capcom fighters look so good on CRTs. I'm trying to buy stuff like this that will blow my mind on CRTs. Before I get to that, Super Smash Brothers for N64, 270 yen, again, giving it away. And then, finally for the games, Beatmania 2DX, 4th style. I used to have every single one of these for PlayStation 2, and then I sold them all, and, to be honest, I kind of regret it. They're so cheap now that I'm just kind of picking them up as I go along. So every trip, I'll grab a couple of these for PlayStation 1 and 2, and see if I get the whole collection. Okay, that's going to do it for all the items. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Ending this video with a picture of a dude I saw on a unicycle with a cat on his shoulder as I was running into him. Thanks a lot. Leave me a comment. Be sure to subscribe and see you next time.
Where's my phone? Where is my phone? Oh, it's plugged in. pictures. That's a lot of pictures. I need to upload.
Welcome friends, welcome back to the kitchen, welcome back to Sunday morning and the old cookbook show. Today we're going to do a recipe out of this old cookbook. Not too old. Published in 1956. It's Ambrose Heath's Honey Cookery. Now Ambrose Heath was a prolific cookbook writer. He had lots and lots and lots of cookbooks, and they're all pretty much in this format. A smaller kind of hardcover book on a single theme. And we've cooked from them before. And I wanted to do this recipe. I know that 1956 is pretty much outside of my regular span of collecting, but I really like Ambrose's books, and I wanted to do this recipe because this is something I can take in the airplane this summer. So we're going to make a honey nut bar, honey date nut bar. This is February, and I am creating a ton of content to take me through to probably September, so that I can have the entire summer off to do other things. I've got a very busy summer of volunteer work, taking care of the airplane, some little trips with family, and all of that sort of thing. So I'm trying to get all of this stuff done. And you're gonna find that there's still going to be a video every Saturday over the summer, but the Sunday morning old cookbook show will probably be every other week, or maybe even every third week, depending on how many of these videos I get through. So in this bowl I have flour, and I've added baking powder, and that is some salt.
Pokemart.
And we'll just give that a little bit of a stir, bring it together. Recipe says to sieve this together, but you don't really need to sieve it together. You can just get in there with a spoon and stir it around. Now the recipe is in breakfast cupfuls. Let's break down a breakfast cupful. A breakfast cupful is ill-defined. In my English cookbooks from the 1800s, sometimes there's a little chart at the front that tells you what the sizes are. Most often a breakfast cupful is delineated as 8 imperial ounces. 8 imperial ounces also happens to be the pre-metric Canadian measuring cup. 8 imperial ounces is 227 milliliters. Not to be confused with a British cup, which I see sometimes in those cookbooks from the 1890s. And a British cup is 6 imperial ounces. All of that, don't get confused if you live over there in the United States. You have a measuring cup that is 8 American ounces, which is 240 milliliters, I think is what they've agreed on. It's something like 237 or 238 or something like that. 240 milliliters, because you don't use the imperial ounce in the United States. All of that doesn't make a lick of difference which cup you use in this recipe. They're all so close that it's not gonna matter. Don't worry about it. Really, don't worry about it. Okay, so into the mixing jug, we're gonna put the honey. Get that in. And then I need to break 3 eggs And as you can see, my eggs are all different sizes. Just random sizes laid by different chickens. I don't get hung up on egg size. And I'm hoping we're gonna get a surprise with this one. Are we? We are! Double yolk! Double yolk! Ha-ha! Knew it. Knew that one was a double yolker. Okay, so these are eggs that we get from a friend, and I don't often use them out here in the studio, mostly because they're inconsistent sizes, and I know that freaks people out because everyone wants to know gram perfect how much of an egg to use, and thinking that, you know, a different sized egg is really going to throw off your recipe. It isn't. But what I have found is consistently there is one hen that lays a much larger egg, and it consistently has a double yolk. And I don't make any change in the recipe when I see a double yolk. I just roll with it. Nature is perfectly imperfect, and don't worry about it. Okay, so mix that up.
It's a spicy flavor.
I'm supposed to put in some vanilla, so get the vanilla in there. Keep whisking. And of course, the honey that you use here is going to have a huge impact on the flavor. I used fairly generic honey that you see almost everywhere. But you can get very specific honey based on what the bees foraged on. One of my favorites is buckwheat, but I think buckwheat might have too much flavor for this, what's going on here. Next we're going to put the flour, salt, and baking powder in, and we'll give that a little bit of a beat together. This is the kind of thing where I'm positive you could swap out some of the flour with rolled oats, or you could probably use all of the flour and still put a handful of rolled oats in here. It would go really well. The recipe calls for chopped nuts and chopped dates. It's going to be incredibly sweet. It's going to be incredibly sweet. But I think you could cut down on the dates, definitely, and put in some raisins if you wanted raisins, or dried blueberries, or dried cranberries, or any other kind of dried fruit. As long as you come up with maybe about a pound, it calls for a pound. So come up with about a pound of a mixed dried fruit. I think you would have something that turns out absolutely incredible. Okay. Nuts, I'm using pecans, and a pound of chopped up dates. And I'll probably switch now back to a spatula. Okay, so wire whisk. Not really a wire whisk. This is much stiffer than a wire whisk, but it's a whisk nonetheless. And we'll just mix the rest of the way with this rubber spatula. Huh, looks pretty good. Now, I've got a cake tin that is buttered with a parchment sling, and we'll just get our mixture in there. So this one happens to be 9 by 9. Definitely use an 8 by 8. If you don't have square, use round. Use whatever cake tin or cake pan you have. Use a cake dish. If you wanted to put this in a glass or ceramic cake dish, do that. Your bake time is going to be a little bit different. That's for sure. But your bake time is going to be different than mine anyway because your oven is different. You're at a different altitude. The thickness of your pan is going to be different. These are little things that you just have to learn in your own kitchen, and it's going to take a little bit of time. Just take the time. Don't worry about it too much. Don't get hung up on, oh no, I've got an 8 by 8, he's using a 9 by 9. What am I going to do? Don't worry about it.
Oh, they're right here.
Don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. So, now our oven is preheated to 325 because it asks for slow oven, and we're going to put this in the oven for about a half an hour.
Rah, it's time for cake. Hey, friends. Hey, Glenn.
So, honey date nut bars. Absolutely nothing what I really expected. I expected something different. And I was
Really? What? It looks like cake.
It does. It does. Not a lot.
Is it because you cut them into triangles and not bars? Is that the confusing part? I'm just checking.
They're diamonds, not squares. Yeah, that's
Sorry.
That's an ad campaign. Anyway, there's not much flour in it in comparison to other ingredients, and so I had expected something much more dense than this. It looks like cake.
Throw in some chocolate chips and you've got something that's like absolutely fabulous.
That's really good. Okay, nothing like I expected at all. Yet amazing. So there's a cup of honey in this.
It was nice. Were you expecting like some kind of like a dense nut bar someone takes hiking?
Somewhere between that and this. Kind of
Where's
halfway.
his home?
Sounds really good.
It's around here somewhere.
So I
right?
still stand by my earlier statement. I think some rolled oats in this would work out really well.
I agree.
Oh, right here.
Other dried fruits instead of just dates. So, you know, I mean, obvious ones are raisins. Cranberries,
Apricots.
apricots, blueberries.
Cranberries would be great because give a little bit of a tartness to it.
Yeah.
I think that's why I like the chocolate idea because it adds that another dimension to the flavor of it being very sweet. Because
It is really sweet.
it's got honey and dates in it. I don't want to point out the obvious, but that's a sugar fest.
There are other options. You could make them into balls.
Ooh,
So,
milk and coconut. Well, I only say that because, as you know, Glenn doesn't like coconut.
so it tells you as soon as you take it out of the oven to cut it and then form it into a ball in your hand because it would be quite pliable at that time, and then roll it into sugar. And it also gives an option of melted chocolate as a topping.
I'm looking at honey fudge. So this next recipe, just you know.
And as an added bonus, Julie, double yolk.
Oh, there's another
We got
double
a
yolk.
We got a double yolk. Okay, thanks for stopping. This is a winner. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.
Did you mention they were friends
Yeah.
of ours? Yeah.
Um,
That's really good.
lamb stew is next. I led with the cake.
I'm gonna wash my mouth out with the cake after the lamb stew.
Thank you everyone for making it to the end of the video and for hanging on to watch this next bit. As in past years, in 2026 I will again be raising money for Hope Air. Hope Air is a charity here in Canada that connects people in need of medical care or medical treatments with transportation to get from where they live to where the treatment is available. In Canada, healthcare is universal. Healthcare is freely given to anyone who steps up and says, I need treatment or I need care. The problem exists in the way, the sheer size of Canada's geography and the way our population is distributed. There are some people who live in areas that are underserved by healthcare. And they need to travel to the larger centers, be it Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary, Toronto, Winnipeg, Montreal, Halifax, or St. John's. There are people who live in Canada's north or in more remote areas where getting to one of those centers to get treatment, be it cancer treatment or ongoing operations for some other health concern, getting to those centers is incredibly difficult, incredibly stressful, especially if it's a child that needs this health care. There are places in Canada where you could be driving 10 or 12 hours to access the treatments that you need. There are places in Canada where there is no road access. You may live in a town
I may impale
that is
myself there.
fly-in only. So what Hope Air does is utilize private pilots like myself who volunteer their time to fly to some of these locations, pick up people, and bring them to the treatment that they need. Or at least bring them to a larger center where they can get on a commercial flight, again, provided by Hope Air, to the city where the treatment is available. and for parents who are bringing their children for this type of health care. Hope Air also has partnerships with hotels where they can provide hotel stays for the parents during this stressful time. For those of us that live in the big cities in Canada, this is something that we don't really think about. But there was a time where Julie and I lived in Northern Ontario, and we lived in towns and villages where, it was 3 hours just to drive to get to a grocery store, let alone drive somewhere where complex medical care could be given. And we were very cognizant of that when we lived there. I'm in the incredibly fortunate position that I can make a change, that you can help make a change. Last year, my viewers, you, donated $40,000 to Hope Air. That's an incredible amount of money. That really changed lives. That helped a lot of people. And I'm so thankful to you that you would open up and do that. It's absolutely incredible. And so for 2026, I'm hoping that we can do that again. In August of 2026, I will again be participating in Give Hope Wings, which is where a bunch of pilots like myself, we go out and we fly around and we raise awareness and we raise money and we sort of put a spotlight on the fact that this charity exists and this need exists and this gap needs to be filled. And so this summer we're going to the East Coast. Some of the highlights are Halifax, St. John's, Newfoundland, Goose Bay, Labrador. Then we're on to Rimouski and Trois-Rivières and ending up again in Sudbury. So I hope you'll come along with me over on the Flying Channel on that trip. Julie and I will be making it this year, and hopefully you will enjoy coming along with us. And if you can donate money to Hope Air, I thank you very much. I also understand that if you don't live in Canada, you may not feel a connection to this. I would hope that you that you could find something in your community that you could help out with. I think that we really need to be a community of people that help each other. It's the only way through this, is to help each other and to give of our time to those that need it. So I thank you very much. So I will put all the links for Hope Air and everything they do in the description box below. Please check them out. And I thank you in advance for however you can help.
There she is. Slide on the second floor. Don't have a slide. Get some paper. 4 bookshelves. Indeed. bookshelves do? Anything? Perfect place for a bookshelf because I keep wanting to hop up there, but cannot reach it. Electricity. I think we'll generate electricity. Need a type with sink and mirror.
Hey everybody, it's Lon Simon. It's time for another update on the future of over-the-air television. We're going to take a look at some things that happened at NAB, some very interesting announcements, and also I will tell you about my predictions as to where I think the FCC is going to go in a few weeks when it makes its next ATSC 3.0 ruling. Let's get to it. Now, today's video is being brought to you by all of you. That includes everyone who watches and subscribes to the channel on a regular basis, along with those of you who contribute to the channel either through my donor box page at lon.tv/support, the best way to help the channel out, along with the YouTube membership program and Patreon and Floatplane, and of course the super thanks down below. All of it helps keep the lights on around here and keeping me focused on issues like the future of over-the-air television, which has become quite an interesting topic over the last couple of years. Now, of course, we have been focused here on the channel on the encryption of the public airwaves. This has been something the major broadcasters here in the United States want to do through the new ATSC 3.0 TV standard, otherwise known as Next Gen TV. And I thought we would hear more about it from the big NAB show, which is sponsored by the nation's largest broadcasters. It's a big trade show in Las Vegas. Not quite as big as CES, but certainly a big one for broadcasting. It just wrapped up, and there were some really interesting announcements there, but not much about this transition, and that was surprising given that we are in the middle of a very important round of deliberations at the FCC. The public comment period is over. The commissioners are likely thinking about what to do next with this TV standard and the encryption, and there really wasn't much about ATSC 3.0 at this show. But there were a couple of things. The big one that I saw was this announcement from a company called Castanet, which allows TV stations to embed 5G broadcasts inside of an ATSC 3.0 signal. So if you're a networking person, you can think of this as like tunneling a 5G signal inside of ATSC 3.0. And what this allows a TV station to do is be compliant with what the FCC wants a TV station to do, while also
something that could be picked up by a supported mobile phone. Now, there are not many mobile phones that support 5G broadcast at the moment, but because the frequencies on some TV stations are so close to what cell phones operate on, it's not a stretch to think that at some point in the future, it might be feasible to have a phone kind of act as a TV, basically receiving a broadcasted data cast that could be video and other things that would work a lot like a TV station would, and that was what this company announced at the show. I thought that was quite a big announcement because it does allow stations to be compliant with the current standard, but also look to something that might be more viable for the future. Along those lines, there was a Boston TV station that announced that they are doing the first 5G broadcast in the U.S. Of course, there are not many ways to receive that broadcast, but the Low Power TV Association, and I'm going to try to get somebody on from them to talk a little bit more about how these stations differ than the big ones you might be associated with. They are very interested in 5G TV. They think it might be more viable than ATSC 3.0, and this experimental transition to a 5G broadcast in the Boston area cost very little compared to what it would be to move the station over to the new standard, and it is something that might be in the future be able to be picked up by many more viewers. And so there's definitely some momentum on 5G coming out of the show. Now, also at the show, of course, the nation's broadcasters through Pearl TV are talking about their low-cost next-gen TV converter boxes. We talked about this at CES. Their plan is to come up with boxes that are very limited, that can pick up the new encrypted signals for about $60 or less. Now, of course, right now, on the current standard, you can get a TV tuner for about $25 or $30 that can actually do more, including recording and other things, but they are coming up with a very limited box that will just tune into TV stations on an existing television and decrypt them. But of course, the encryption is driving the cost up so much. And what really concerns me about this announcement is that Pearl TV, which is a conglomeration of broadcasters, is once again picking winners and losers here. Now, they state that they're doing this to kind of develop a standard, but really they are the ones pushing all the hardware at the moment, as opposed to this industry working independently, which it has done for, of course, the last century or so. And there was a PC Mag article also about this new development here, and I was expecting to see fully assembled low-cost tuners, but they were just showing off prototypes that were basically circuit boards at the show. And this comes from Rob Pegararo, who is the reporter at PC Mag. Now, in the PC Mag article, the reporter expressed some frustration that there were 3 high-level officials from the FCC at the show, and they weren't talking much about this ATSC 3.0 transition. So he does quote Evan Morris, who is the media bureau chief. He's somebody that the Antenna Man and I met with in DC back in August. His only statement was, we share in the excitement of ATSC 3.0, but didn't say much more than that. There were also 2 commissioners of the FCC at the show, people that would vote on whatever proposals come out of the Media Bureau. One of them was Olivia Trusty, and she spoke at a panel that had the title of Next Gen TV and TV 3.0, a global conversation on the future of broadcasting, and she spoke very little about the actual transition. Spoke more generally about finding the angel of the public interest. She did talk a little bit about the transition, but just kind of referring to it and how the commission needs to be careful about striking the right balance of regulation and free market competition. And she also mentioned that emergency alerting might be something that ATSC 3.0 can improve upon, but that was it. And the other FCC commissioner at the show was Anna Gomez. She is the lone Democrat on the 3-member panel, so Olivia Trusty and Chairman Brendan Carr are Republicans. There is room for 2 more commissioners, but Congress hasn't filled those seats yet. So there are 3, 2 Republicans and a Democrat, and Gomez, in her remarks, focused almost entirely on First Amendment issues and nothing about the ATSC 3.0 transition. So it was interesting to hear so little about this, given the fact that the FCC is actively deliberating what to do next about this big transition. So what's going to happen? Well, I did talk about this a few months ago where I said I think there's going to be kind of a frozen conflict put into place on this, and I still think that's going to happen, and certainly this show reinforced a lot of what I was thinking about that. So I do think we're going to see the end of the simulcast mandate. So currently, for stations that opted into broadcasting in the new ATSC 3.0 standard, they also had to do a 1.0 simulcast, basically offering the same thing on the new and the old standard. I think that is going to go away. I don't think there's going to be any immediate fallout from that because ATSC 3.0 adoption is so bad that no station is going to turn off its 1.0 broadcast right now because they lose all their over-the-air viewers almost immediately, and no cable systems are really equipped to take in the new 3.0 signal. And I don't think the FCC is going to go so far as to mandate cable systems to take those 3.0 signals. So I think we're going to see the end of the mandate, but stations likely simulcasting into the near future nonetheless. I do think we're going to see more permissive uses of alternative technologies. So one of those, of course, will be allowing different types of broadcast encoding on the existing 1.0 standard. So we'll see likely MPEG-4 be allowed on the main broadcast, and maybe HEVC, which is, of course, a much more efficient and modern standard. Right now on ATSC 1.0, the FCC requires only MPEG-2, a very old compression technology, on the main channel. So if stations could have the option to switch from 2 to 4, that would, of course, make things a lot more efficient under the current standard and improve things for broadcasters at the same time. And this was something that the FCC did ask about in its most recent ruling about whether or not it would make sense to allow that to happen, given that so many devices now can decode MPEG-4 and presumably could pick up these broadcast signals without interrupting the public all that much. Of course, going to ATSC 3.0 would be really wiping out most of over-the-air TV viewers in the country, but a switch to MPEG-4 likely won't be as difficult to implement. And I also think we're going to see a move on 5G TV, especially on low-power TV stations like the one in Boston. Right now, that Boston station is being allowed to transmit 5G kind of in an experimental license mode, but I do see the FCC likely opening this up more and testing the market to see, hey, what would work the best into the future? 5G, ATSC 3, ATSC 1 with a different encoding technology, and this entire ATSC 3 transition was supposed to be about the free market and allowing the market to decide and trying different things out. And I think this FCC is likely going to allow more, not less, when it comes to what can be broadcast. And certainly over the last 7 or 8 years, we've had both ATSC 3 and 1.0 working together on TV frequencies, and the world didn't end. So I do think we're going to see, again, much more permissive experimentation to find something that can be adopted, and certainly if it can be easily accepted on mobile phones, that would be a big deal, and I think would accomplish a lot of the public interest obligations that broadcasters have, and certainly the public interest is what this FCC is very interested about in all of their statements. I don't think we're going to see any movement on DRM, especially as I don't think they're going to mandate a hard cutover to this new standard anytime soon. I think that gives the FCC the ability to not make a statement on it or impose anything and basically just allow the market to take its own direction here. And certainly the encryption and all of the standards that broadcast receivers have to meet to decrypt that encrypted content has made consumer adoption very, very low, and the tuner is very expensive and complicated for users. And I think they may just try to let DRM kill itself on its own as opposed to having to mandate anything. And speaking of DRM killing off the industry here, there is going to be growing pressure on the FCC to claw back some of that spectrum that TV stations are using and turn it over to other use cases that might make better use of it. And there already is a petition that launched just last week to the FCC asking the commission to take some of that broadcast spectrum and reallocate it to 6G wireless internet. I don't think anything's going to happen with this particular petition, but if consumer adoption fails to take hold on this new broadcast standard and viewership continues to decline, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that the FCC might consider this, take some of that spectrum away, repack these TV stations into smaller and smaller slivers of bandwidth, and just continually chip away at it until perhaps it doesn't exist any longer. And that's why I think removing the DRM right now is so important because it is preventing consumer adoption, both through the fact that consumers are getting less than what they have now, but also because these tuning devices are too expensive and too limited to meet what consumers are really looking for. And ultimately, I think the FCC wants to let the market decide. And in fact, up until recently, this is what the broadcasters wanted to do as well. If you go back to the April 2016 petition to begin this permissive ATSC 3.0 experiment, they were talking over and over again how they don't want mandates. They don't want the FCC getting involved in how this is going to work. Just let the market do its thing, and we will make a successful transition here. And now, fast forward 10 years later, and the broadcaster spokesperson is saying that none of this is going to happen unless there's a policy change. It's never going to happen organically, but organically is what they actually wanted in the first place. And I think if you look at what the low-power TV stations are looking for, perhaps finding a different standard that might work better for them, I think allowing every possible thing in an experimental mode here to see if over-the-air broadcasting is still even viable is what we need right now. And I think that is where the FCC will land when this is over. They will continue to permit ATSC 3. They will make ATSC 1 a little easier to manage, perhaps with better video encoding technology. And I think we're going to see 5G experiments continue and perhaps have a permissive layer very similar to how ATSC 3.0 is working currently. We're going to try to get in somebody here on the channel to talk about low-power TV stations and what they're looking to do. And who knows, the low-power TV stations, which are the little guys and gals in this battle, might end up being the future of broadcast. So we'll get them on and talk more about this in the near future. So stay tuned for that. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, what your predictions might be. And until next time, this is Lon Seidman. Thanks for watching.
Fell it down. I need to pet the whale. my crops and then we'll be done for today. I feel. One of my favorite houses. I know. I don't know why I keep smashing. Oh, I just sucked up. Not sure I did that right. To be honest. Alright, let's quit for today. They made a card for you to quit. I don't think they want you to quit.